Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Live. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Coming up, man, we're continuing our 2018 draft class free agency look, and today it's about Cedrick Wilson and how he could possibly leave a hole in our wide receiver room. Some people may not be a big deal, right? May not be a big deal. Depends what Dallas decides to do. So we'll look at a few free agents in this free agent class in 2022, and we'll also talk about some Cowboys free agents. That's how we're going to do this thing throughout the offseason. There's Catboy free agents, and then there's our free agents. And then in the roundup, Micah Parsons injury news. Not that he's hurt right now, but he revealed something when he sat down with Taylor Rook, so we'll talk about that. And today won't be a particularly long show. Got a lot to do. So if you do want to call in, 351-999-3787 is a call-in line. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. I'm looking over at the chat because I saw my man my man Professor O said he's freestyling to the beat because, about one Rowdy, the mascot. He can't stand Rowdy. I don't blame you. He had this stat or something ever since the Cowboys got a Rowdy. So, Cowboys haven't really done anything in the playoffs. So I'm with you, Professor O. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Already, as usual, Tom Downey burner account. Appreciate you, brother.
Super chat.
Says, one day, I'm going to buy this team, Sky. Hey, man, I hope you do. I hope you do. I hope somebody else, gets in here and knows what they're doing. And we'll talk a little bit, actually, in a second about the culture because Professor O, shout out to him. Shout out to Jay Tuck and others that have been not down at the Super Bowl, but they have had opportunities to talk to some of these players. And I do want to bring up what Cheeto had to say during his media stint. But real quick first, let's get some shout-outs to the chat in the building. Over here on Facebook, got Jose Bang, Stephen White, our guy Marcus Hardison, Stevie Mack. He's back to being Stevie Mack to my guy, not CD Mack to my guy. Tom Downey burner account, Amanda Brown, Moat Mosley, Who Dat? T-Mac, Samuel Rowe, Brandon Edwards, Fresh Fade in the building, TC915, DQOEB. What's that stand for? Derek Fisher, Alpha Mason, Miss Sheila, Captain America. How does it, sir? Lamont Adamak, Professor O over on YouTube. Facebook, we got Hulk Smash, CJ Richards in the building, DA Lee, Mo Z, and Chuck P. Salute to you guys rocking out with us this morning. Paris, I see you. Nick, I see you. Matt Goddix, Stevie White, I see you. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll have a pretty decent show today. And then it's my last day until Tuesday. So you won't see me on YouTube for a while. But I'll be keeping up on Twitter. So make sure if you want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Skywalker Steele. So I'll be tweeting away all my opinions during the Super Bowl on Sunday, which is also my son's birthday. So that'll be a dual thing we got going on there. But it'll be pretty cool. So make sure you hit me up on Twitter at Skywalker Steele or call in today if you want to get in before Tuesday, 351-999-3787. All right, before we get to the roundup, there's a couple things one thing prior to the Cheeto. Did y'all see the Washington Commander? And I said I wasn't going to call him that. The Washington football people, the defensive tackle, Jonathan Allen. He was asked about 3 people that he'd like to have dinner with. This fool said Hitler. That's not a typo. I didn't mispronounce. He said he wanted to have dinner with Hitler. He really put that out on Twitter into the world. And it's just hilarious to me because the Washington now are the Commanders, commies, all that whole situation. And you would think he'd have sense, right? Like not to say that in 2022. I almost said 2021 because it'd get out there. If it was up to you, would you think about moving on from a guy that said he wanted to have dinner with Hitler? Because I think twice about it. He's the same dude that got, into the fight with his teammate. Granted, I think all that's behind them. But Hitler? Am I tripping or is that, that's out there? Mo said he saw that. Peter said, what a jerk. Tom said, Hitler would be somewhat of an interesting conversation, but no. I'll try to find what he really said. He said something about he's a military genius and they'd have to tell the truth. And what more truth do you need to know? Go do research, bruh. Sometimes I wonder with some of these athletes, man. I really, truly do wonder with some of these athletes. What goes through their heads? Fitting, it's with the Washington football team, right? You got a shitty owner. You got a terrible person, terrible human being of an owner, a terrible poverty franchise that can't get their stadium fixed. Their fans, you'd think we pissed. I know they fans are worse in regards to frustration. Now they players want to have dinner with Hitler. What are we doing? What's up, Frankie franchise? And then Cheeto. I wasn't going to talk about this because I thought this is obvious, right? We've been hearing this for years on years on years. He talked about the culture in Cincinnati being different than that of Dallas, which kind of obvious, right? But it kind of echoed the same things that you heard from Cole Beasley, some of the things you heard, kind of what Dez was saying. Dez really didn't go anywhere else, but Dez has some things to say. A lot of players that leave Dallas have some things to say without being too disrespectful. They're just kind of being truthful, in my opinion. And he brought up how it's a blue-collared city. It's about football. How many times have we heard that, right? It's about football over here. The bright light. It's not about the lights. We don't need the facilities, this and that, and this. He talks about the camaraderie. I do think the locker room, though, like inside the locker room, the players of the Cowboys, I think that's fine. I think what surrounds it, though, can breed negativity in the sense of entitlement, right? Because it is Dallas. And you can be drafted and boom, instantly you're a star here. You don't have to earn it. You're a star here. So I respect what Cheeto said. I don't think he said anything crazy. Some people are going to say, oh, he's mad. He's hating. How is he hating? He's in the Super Bowl. We've heard it with guys like Anthony Hitchens. They go on to do other things. This is a reoccurring theme, and I don't think it's a surprise to me. And Cheeto, I'm happy for Cheeto. I'm happy for all those guys to get a chance to go play in the Super Bowl because they've dealt with this. They are the ones that can speak on it directly. As fans, we're not there. So we only can assume, or we can just kind of pay attention to what's been happening over the years and form an opinion. But if you really want to know what's happening, listen to the players that have been there. Listen to the Cole Beasleys. Listen to the Hitchens. Listen to the Cheetos. It's obvious that there is a cultural issue in Dallas, right? And we talk about it all the time. We talk about it all the time. What I wish would happen is that the higher ups see these things, they hear these things, and it affects them to make real changes. Will we see that? Who knows? T-Mac said the problem is they are leaving and winning. Our problem. Yep, Cole Beasley said the same thing too, Tom, down there. And people got on Cole real bad because Cole left here on a different note than Cheeto. Cheeto wasn't all in the videos, making rap music. He wasn't doing all that. He wasn't freestyling. What was the bees, hot sauce or whatever? He wasn't doing none of that. Cheeto kind of left quietly. He had nothing to say. Cole left with some sauce. And then he had something to say prior to getting signed by the Bills. And then once he got signed by the Bills, he was like, yeah, these facilities low-key are lit over here in Buffalo. And it's about football. People just hated him for it. But if you really peel back, and then the whole COVID situation with Cole, what he's saying, it's real. I don't know how you could be mad at him. T-Mac said, everybody ain't lying. We keep hearing the same thing. Absolutely. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Damn it, it's a duck. And Marcus says it's easier to say stuff like that when you're winning. But that's the thing, Marcus. These players are leaving and they're going to organizations that are winning. So they can speak on it, right? Like, you can speak on winning organizations when you're winning. You can speak on your history with a non-winning organization like the Cowboys and when you go to one. So, yeah, these are three different Bengals, Chiefs, and I believe, Buffalo. Three different organizations that have had way more success than Dallas in the last 3 years. Just the last 3 years. You know, than the Cowboys have had in the last 27. So damn right they can speak on it because they're in the winning organization. Thank you, Tom. He says, Sky, I want to make it clear. I do not want to have dinner with Hitler. Thank you. Because I was a little worried, Tom. I was a little worried. All right, let's get into the roundup real quick so we don't keep it too damn long.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Fresh want to have dinner with Holly Berry. This is the morning roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals are not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness. Got 9 locations in the DFW area, so hit up any one of those locations or visit TexasFamilyFitness.com. Let them know that your boy Sky sent you. Holly Berry. Taylor Rooks. Shout out to Taylor Rooks over at Bleacher Report. She gets all the damn interviews, man. She's a beast, hard worker. And she gets really good stuff out of these guys, too. If you missed this interview, she sat down with Micah Parsons. He talked about a whole lot. He lists his top 5 quarterbacks, really top 6. That got some buzz, rankings. People love that stuff. But the one that stuck out for Cowboys Nation, not a bad thing. Micah Parsons was playing on a bad knee this year, but you would never be able to tell. He revealed that he was dealing with it all year, which was a hyperextended knee that affected him after the training camp joint practice with the Rams. Micah said it was just something that kept lingering. When you hyperextend something, it needs rest, but I was like, nah, I can't take no rest. He did all of this on a bum wheel? I thought the legend couldn't grow anymore. But even when he's done playing, the legend continues to grow. This kid is going to be amazing. We talked about this yesterday with Foots the King when he came on and we were talking draft. Build around this man in the same manner that you would build around a quarterback. Right? Treat this man as a franchise player. Not just because you draft him in the first round. See that number right there, 55? He was drafted in the first round. He ain't nowhere near a franchise player. See, Jerry Jones thinks I forgot what he said about number 9. And I'm not talking about Tony Romo, Jalen Smith. Cornerstone player. Stop it. This is why I can't trust these Joneses. Cornerstone. This is a true cornerstone player. This man, if you could lock him up now, lock him up. But build around Micah. Continue to put Beast in front of him. Continue to put Beast next to him. If you do that, I think you're going to get a Hall of Fame career out of this guy. And I think you'll start to form an identity defensively long term. Similar to how the Cowboys have done offensively. Even though on offense it hasn't been all perfect. But we know the last 10 years the Cowboys have been known for what? Offense. Cowboys can move the ball, they can score, they can do all this stuff. Offensively. But defensively, they've never been able to put together a consistent, respectable, I'm not even talking about just great, just respectable defense. They can now with Micah Parsons. They have never had a player sans DeMarcus Ware. And this is no offense to DeMarcus Ware. Damn it, I'm going to say it. Micah Parsons has the making of being way more versatile than D. Ware. And he's going to go down as a Hall of Fame first ballot. So that's no knock on D. Ware. It's just that Micah's skill set is way more versatile. And it's up to the coaches to make sure they utilize him in that way. So up to them to make sure they utilize him in that way. What Fresh done said? Oh, the Holly Berry comment. Yo, wow. All right, the second part of the roundup is an article spotlight. A to Z Sports article spotlight by our guy, Cole Patterson. We spotlighted one of his articles before. Make sure y'all check that out on AtoZSportsDallas.com. His article is titled, Why the Dallas Cowboys Need CeeDee Lamb to Take Another Leap Forward. One of the main reasons that he lists in the article is due to the possible thinning of the wide receiver room that could happen in Dallas. And you're talking about the Cooper speculation. You know, he could be gone, which would make CeeDee Lamb the wide receiver one. And let's be clear here. Year 3, it's about that time anyway for CeeDee Lamb to start to get those wide receiver one feels, looks, and performances. I know a lot of people, it's sour, drop balls and things like that, and they think that CeeDee Lamb can't be wide receiver one. I think he absolutely can. I think he was drafted to be one. He has the talent to be one, and it's year 3, man. He can do it. You know, it's just a matter of him being featured in that manner. But it is that time, right? No matter what, even if Amari Cooper returns, you need CeeDee Lamb to take that next step. But it's a possibility that Amari Cooper may not return. Thus, CeeDee Lamb may be the guy. That room may be way worse. And it may be way worse because another possibility of losing 2 guys in free agency. Meaning one, Michael Gallup, and Cedrick Wilson, who we'll talk about today. Yeah. Let me just go back to what my man Mark said. Yes, I'm bringing out the anointing oil for my guy, Micah Parsons. I mean, I don't have to anoint him. Just go look at the NFL. All Pro, Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year, all those type of things. Look, Mike is ridiculous, you know. Not saying Mike is going to be a Hall of Famer, but I think he's more versatile than one DeMarcus Ware. But let's go back to Ced Wilson. Ced Wilson. Because I'm torn on this one, and I'm going to need y'all help. I'm going to talk it out with you guys. Ced Wilson had a really good year this year. A really career year, matter of fact, which could be, you know, a career year where he prices himself out of Dallas. 45 receptions, 600 yards, 13 yards per catch with 6 touchdowns. All career highs across the board. 74% catch percentage and 116 passer rating when targeted. Listen, he may not be a star, he may not be the stud, but he was very reliable when needed. Between Michael Gallup being out from week 2 to week 8 or 9-ish, to Michael Gallup going back out at the end of the year and into the playoffs. One could argue the offense ran a little bit smoother with Cedrick Wilson. I'm not saying that's one, you know, making him better than Michael Gallup. I think they're 2 different players, but I think there was a different feel with Ced Wilson in there. But Catboy, right? That could be the problem with Ced. Ced's market value is set at $6+ million APY, annual per year. If you think about it, the $6 million isn't a crazy number. The Cowboys have went that way before. In fact, I'm going to bring up this this graphic here. Notable free agent wide receivers signed by Dallas Cowboys during the Dak Zeke era. I use everything in the Dak Zeke era because that's where we're sitting at right now, the last 6 years. they really haven't signed a ton of great wide receivers. I mean, if you look at the list, Randall Cobb, Tavon Austin, Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, Bryce Butler, Devin Smith are your notable guys. And I'm not talking about the Ventel Bryants and the Malik Turners, which pay attention to that later. None of these guys were paid a ton of money. In fact, the only guy that got $6 million per year was the Allen Hurns deal. Remember that, the wide receiver by committee. And I think they did that with the thought process of, hey, we're going to replace Dez Bryant with Allen Hurns and Deontay Thompson and Bryce Butler. And that's not going to work. But they did. And they gave Allen Hurns a 2-year deal worth $6 million per year. Same year they went out and got Amari Cooper. Now, I'm showing you this list because when you see the Cowboy free agents, you understand why those names are up there. Don't go into free agency expecting the Dallas Cowboys to sign Odell Beckham, Mike Williams, right? Let me take a look at a lot of guys I like. Mike Williams, Chris Godwin. Oh, we can forget about Devontae Adams. Jamison Crowder. Good players, but they're going to garner some money. In fact, your best bet, if they're going to pay that $6 million, is to re-sign Cedrick Wilson. Because if you go look at the free agent list, there's not many market value-wise for $6 million that you're going to get. You'll get guys above that. Jamison Crowder's around $12 million. Mike Williams is going to get around $12 to $14 million. Chris Godwin's going to get paid. Adams is going to get paid. Allen Robinson is going to get paid. Maybe you can look at a veteran like a T.Y. Hilton or something like that. An Emmanuel Sanders, even though he got paid $6 million this year. But you're talking about older guys. Again, look at this list. Randall Cobb, Tavon Austin, Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, Bryce, and Devin. None of those guys were 35 years old. In fact, I want to say maybe Randall was the only one that was about 30. So just be prepared for Catboy and how he operates. Marcus says, why sign any of those guys when you already have Coop? The big names? No. Yeah, you don't need to sign any of the big names. Even with Amari Cooper, though, if you keep him, which they need to, you're going to have to refill that wide receiver room. They're going to sign a free agent wide. That's just what they do. They don't necessarily sign a big name. Hell, look at the list. But they can bring in a guy on a 1-year deal or multiple years, but mostly a 1-year deal to fill that void of Ced Wilson. Because right now, we don't necessarily know if that's on the roster yet. And there is a name that I'm going to get to in a second. And I'm not talking about Semi Fehoko. We don't know about him yet. I don't think Noah Brown's that guy. So therefore, you could potentially look in the free agency market. I agree. Hilton is injured too much, Kevin. Alex asked about getting Juju Smith-Schuster. Again, we talked about this the other day. If we're bringing back Amari Cooper, I'm not trying to go get any of those big name guys because you don't need it. If you get rid of an Amari Cooper, then obviously Juju becomes a name of interest. I'll leave it at that. It becomes a name of interest. Stevie Max says, I like Cedi, but there's some guys I like in the draft that can replace him. Well, that's a different conversation. I like the draft. I like going the draft route as well, and I'm looking for a slot guy in the draft. But what I don't want to do is if you get rid of Amari Cooper and we go into the year with just not Michael Gallup, but just CeeDee Lamb, some drafted guys and some Jags. So therefore, I'm kind of looking for maybe a young veteran that can at least come in here and help be a role player in some form, some manner. MD Andrew says Randall was worth it in 2019. Absolutely. Yeah, he was absolutely worth it. You know what's funny about that? A lot of people think that, Dak Prescott sucks, blah, 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 blah. Randall Cobb's career rejuvenated under Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Rejuvenated. He wasn't got paid. Go look at his last 3 years in Green Bay. This has nothing to do with A-Rod. It's just he kind of was dwindling down. Came to Dallas, got paid. But again, on a typical Catboy deal. 1-year deal. So, with that said, let's take a look at some Catboy free agents. don't all throw tomatoes at me. Don't get mad. I try to set you up for this. These are Catboy free agents. Young veterans on the right side of 30. We got the list, right? 1-year deals. Not a whole lot of tread on the tire. Cowboy free agents. Traquan Smith, EQ St. Brown, and Malik Turner. Those are the type of guys that the Dallas Cowboys could look to bring in on a short-term deal. Now, we'll get to Malik in a second, but Traquan Smith is a guy that I've liked actually for a while. And Stevie Mack hit me up. We talked about it briefly with Traquan. I like his downfield ability. He has that 6'2" body frame similar to a Ced Wilson. He showed some versatility in New Orleans under a Sean Payton with Drew Brees, right? Played in the slot, played outside. He was expected to kind of be a little bit better than his production showed, but I thought he still was productive. He had 17 touchdowns and 124 passer rating throughout his career when targeted. Not a wide receiver 2 guy, not a wide receiver 1, but a role player, right? A 3-4 guy, like I said, Wilson, on the younger side of things that could come in here on a cheap deal. I think if you're looking at his production, it's better than if you look at his production alone, it's better than a lot of the lower level free agents that you'll see on the list. So I think he can come in right away, and he can, in fact, of the 3, I think he could come in right away and be more productive than most of them. So Traquan Smith is the first guy on Catboy's free agent list, which I'm telling you, don't expect to see a Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin. We're trying to keep it real here, as well as share some of the guys that we would like, hence the Cowboy free agents and the Skies free agents. But we'll talk about Cowboys first. Traquan Smith. How you feel about Traquan Smith being a potential Ced Wilson replacement? Huh? Oh, Tom Troll. Oscar said Traquan would be a good addition, especially if Sean Payton's coaching the Cowboys. That's what I'm saying. Jeremy says Smith or Turner of those 3. Mind you, these are just 3 guys that I'm listing. There are a ton of free agents on this market. I mean, dozens and dozens of free agents. I have the list sitting up here, but when I look at this, I try to operate with the Cowboys cap on, right? Catboys cap on. Stephen Jones. We know the pillars. Right side of 30, young veteran. Maybe dealt with some injury situations or didn't get a chance to get enough opportunity. Won't cost you a lot. Traquan Smith, boom. Let's see. Yeah, Bear said Cobb has so many plays called back. And absolutely. Creative said his hands are suspect, though. I didn't go look at his drop rate or anything like that. But when I did watch the Saints, I've always heard that. Not the greatest with the hands, but I've seen him make some tough big plays, some big catches. And again, 17 touchdowns, is nothing to sneeze at. 124 passer ratings is nothing to really sneeze at, in my opinion. And see, this is what I mean, Jacob. You're listing Christian Kirk, DJ Shark, MVS, forget about it. DJ Shark, by the way, if he didn't get hurt, I think he'd be up there with the other guys. He's going to get paid. He's a very young, good wide receiver. You can forget about that. Christian Kirk is estimated market value is at $13 million, I think it was. Forget about that. MVS is the one that's sneaky, but I don't think MVS would. Let me slow this down. As a replacement for Ced, sure, but I don't know that his fit here seems redundant. That makes sense. Seems a bit redundant. And Fresh wants a speed guy. Well, Traquan might not run a 4.2, but he got some speed to him. He's like a 4.48, 4.49 guy. So it's not blazing, but he got some speed to him. All right, let's talk about Equanimous St. Brown. If you can see here, I just put EQ. He's an intriguing prospect, in my opinion. Was an intriguing prospect coming out of Notre Dame. Big guy. I have a thing for bigger safeties and bigger wide receivers that can run. I was a big Bryce Butler fan, big Des Bryant fan, but this guy is huge. 6'5", 214. He ran a 4.48. He's not the shiftiest or what have you, but he's got long speed. But unlike Traquan Smith, he doesn't have the production at all in Green Bay. He just never could really catch on with Aaron Rodgers. He only has 37 career receptions, and he only played over 350 snaps one time in his career, and it was 358 snaps. So he's not a guy that has a ton of tape. He's not a guy that has a ton of production, but he's a Catboy guy. He's a guy that has some talent with that size. He's a big body dude with some speed. He can be kind of that Michael Gallup guy where he can go up and get the ball, a ridiculous catch radius. It's hard to overthrow him because he's 6'5", probably with a 7-foot wingspan. I'm exaggerating there. But he fits the Catboy criteria. Won't cost you a lot. He's been in this league for 4 years. Played with one of the best quarterbacks. Granted, he never really caught on with that quarterback, but he's been around. Oh, by the way, Mike McCarthy drafted him. So I could see Equanimous St. Brown being a guy that Mike says, hey, if we're not going to bring back Ced Wilson, why don't you guys go take a look at EQ? I'm interested. I brought him in here. I like the big body guys. He's not going to be a dude that's going to play in the slot, though, so he won't be a one-for-one Ced Wilson type of dude. But he could be more kind of a Noah Brown replacement if you think about it. So I like EQ. He played more special teams, so you do need to replace that part of Ced Wilson's game, right? He played more special teams, but this is more of a young, cheap, potential guy type of deal to bring in. We haven't really done that too much. Usually we bring in guys that are established, right? Allen Hurns, even Bryce Butler had more of a history in Oakland at the time than EQ did. Randall Cobb, these guys, even Deontay Thompson had a few moments with the Bills. So these guys are kind of established. EQ's not necessarily established just yet, but he has kind of that untapped potential, right? That untapped potential. And I've always clamored for a bigger guy for Dak Prescott to just throw that thing up. Michael Gallup is kind of that guy, 6'2", not small, a physical wide receiver, one of the best at catching the ball in the air. With anybody in this league, I put him up there. But EQ has that type of ability because he's huge. So I can see EQ St. Brown being another Catboy type of free agent wide receiver. What you guys think? Ruben says I like it. Kevin says Smith's a 50-50 player. No, Brando, Ced's not going yet, but we're talking about potential replacements in case he priced himself out of Dallas. Because you got to remember, Catboy has a limit. $6 million is top. Ced market value right now is at $6 million, but I got a feeling there could be a team that says we'll pay you more. Sam said it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. Mo likes St. Brown better than Smith. I like Smith a little better than St. Brown. But again, I think St. Brown fits this Cowboy criteria. Barrett says he was good at Notre Dame, and he looked good when he gets the ball, says Mo, third or fourth receiver on the team. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a guy who's going to be your third or fourth guy. Jacob says Mike drafted MVS. Yep, he has that connection as well. Kevin says EQ's not that bad. And Marvin Hargrove says, I predicted that our receiving core will be in 2022. Cooper, Lamb, EQ Brown, Malik, and Fehoko. All right. Yeah, Jacob. TJ Vasher is another guy. I don't see Brandon Smith really getting the roster spot. But if you want a big dude, TJ is what, 6'5", 6'6"? He redshirted last year. Got a chance to talk to him briefly at training camp. I liked his tape I like his highlights. We'll put it that way. When you actually look at the tape, there's things that he just, he got to work on, which is why he redshirt. But he's another go up and get the rock. So if you don't want to bring in an EQ St. Brown, he got a 6'5", 6'6" dude on the team. And Derek thinks the draft wide receivers are better. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. I still believe they should, if you get rid of a Ced Wilson, you should draft a slot guy. But there's a very highly likely they'll bring in a veteran wide receiver. That's just what they've been doing. If you go look at their history when they lose a guy, they usually bring in a veteran dude on a cheap deal, and we're trying to figure out which one that could be. It could be Malik Turner. the guy that's already on your team. I wasn't going to include him, but I think he did enough with his limited touches this year. I think he had 13 receptions, something like that. Ironically, 3 touchdowns, but it was his receptions outside of the red zone to me that made me say, okay, maybe Malik got a little something to him. He's skilled, in my opinion. I think he kind of mirrors a Ced Wilson, a wiry type of dude, some twitchiness to him, got some yak to him. 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, he's almost a clone in regards to the ability or the measurements of a Ced Wilson. Just haven't seen enough of him from the receiver standpoint to say that he'd be an equal to Ced or a better replacement. But he could be a very cheap replacement. He's got he's familiar with Dak in the system, the scheme, and let's not forget, he was probably outside of CJ Goodwin, our best special teams player. Had to block punt. He had a couple big blocks that sprung Tony Pollard in a kick return. He sprung Tony Pollard actually as a wide receiver too against the Saints. So I could see Malik Turner returning to the team one way or another, but possibly returning to the team as Cedrick Wilson's replacement. He's not old. I think he's like 26 years old. So you're not looking at an older veteran. You're looking at a young veteran. I like to use those terms together because that's real. Guys that are 26, 27 have been in the league 4 or 5 years are still veterans, but they're not old veterans. So would not shock me if Malik Turner is brought back here on a similar 1-year deal to replace a Ced Wilson. I feel like if they bring back Malik and they don't go out and sign a Traquan, a EQ, or any of these other guys, I think they'll truly draft Ced's replacement, let Malik, Semi, and that drafted guy, probably a 3rd, 4th, 5th round type of dude, battle it out for that slot. And then the other guys will be special teamers. But I like Malik Turner. I'm not going to lie to you. How y'all feel about a potentially Malik Turner replacing Ced Wilson? And I'm going to say replace Ced Wilson as in being the 3rd guy, being that slot guy. I'm kind of with it. Brando asked about Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay signed a massive contract in New York, so unless he got cut, be interesting. Shenard says, I've been saying Malik Turner's fast and tough. I like more quick than fast, but definitely tough, Shenard. He's definitely a tough player. And coming from Seattle, I think you had to be at one point. You were dealing with a room in there that had some tough guys. William Burney says, if we lose Cedrick, Amari, and Gallup, we're going to need at least 2 more receivers to come in here. 1 star, 1 half decent. If you lose Cedrick, Amari, and Gallup, now we're talking about a completely different of Catboy free agents. That number, that's $6 million, and I hate to use the $6 million because there's only a handful of those guys, but that number is going to have to rise to at least 10. Like, if you're going to get rid of Coop, I need to raise my level of cap to go get an Allen Robinson, right? A Mike Williams. If you get rid of Coop, man, I love bringing Mike Williams. I love to bring in Mike Williams. But we're talking hypothetical. Technically, Ced's a free agent. He's not on this team, so that's why we're talking about his replacements. We'll see what happens with Amari Cooper. Jacob says, Robert Prince, the new wide receiver coach, was Ced Wilson's coach in college. Yeah, that's another good point. Do you think that Prince will be like, hey, listen, man, let's bring back Ced? And that's what I'm saying. If I look at this list of guys in that market, I'd just rather bring back Ced if I can get him for $6 million. If I'm going to spend $6 million on an Allen Hurns, then just bring back Ced Wilson. The only problem is the devil's advocate to that, y'all, is that Allen Hurns was technically brought in here to be a $6 million wide receiver 1. That's not a joke, right? Randall Cobb was a 1-year, $5 million hit. Slot guy. Michael Gallup was your drafted 2 dude, but Cobb I thought brought some versatility. So he wasn't in here to be a starter. He was brought in here to be your wide receiver 3, and he did it at a fantastic clip. So Cobb and Hurns are your hopeful. Is your hope that they bring back a Cedrick Wilson to play a similar role? It's not a Hurns role, but a Cobb role at $6 million a clip. Other than Randall Cobb, though, under the Dak Prescott era, there aren't many other wide receivers they brought in here and paid $5-6 million to be wide receiver 3. So that kind of gives me a pause. Yeah, Tom, it's here's the thing about the wide receivers in free agency. There are a lot of really good ones I actually like. I just think some of them will outprice themselves for the Cowboys. In fact, let me read off a couple of these guys. Here's a few other guys that I like, y'all. Jalen Guyton, former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver with the Chargers. He made a lot of big plays with the Chargers the last 2 years. So I'm a big fan of Guyton. I wasn't a huge fan of him in Dallas. He would drop the ball a lot. He was young, right? Went to the Chargers and made himself, his presence felt. Big play, deep threat guy. Could play in the slot as well. So I like a Jalen Guyton type if we're looking at more kind of a cap boy free agent list. He didn't get paid a whole lot. He was still on a very cheap contract with the Chargers. So I don't think he'll be a ton of money. I think he'll fall under that $6 million threshold. So he's a guy. Another guy I like is Adam Humphries. You guys know I am a big slot guy. I personally, want to go out into the draft and get me a slot guy. But Adam Humphries could come in here and be your veteran slot receiver. Not really versatile, though, so you lose that. But he can get in the slot and give you that, what's the cat's name in Cole Beasley feel, but the guy in Oakland. I keep saying Oakland. Las Vegas. He can give you kind of that feel. He's not as good, but he's that slot. James Washington, another dude I really like. And we're trying to remain under that cat boy feel. James Washington is just a tough-ass, gritty player, man. Big play, big catchability. I don't know. I'm not a big Steeler fan, so I don't know how many opportunities he got in Pittsburgh, but I do know in Oklahoma State he was a big play dude. I do know he was a tough guy in Pittsburgh, kind of fit that mold. And I think James Washington could bring some grittiness to Dallas, and he's another guy I like. Thank you, Hunter Renfrow. Always forget that dude's name. And then why the hell not on one Deshaun Jackson? Why not? At this point, right? Like, why not? Deshaun Jackson is still good to outrun your coverage. He killed the Cowboys a million times. How about you get him on the Cowboys and let him help you out? I'm not even saying you keep it, Deshaun Jackson. He may not make it through the whole season, but hell, I'll bring his ass in here for training camp and see if he can stick. See if he can be your Randall Cobb for 1 year. You're not signing Deshaun Jackson for more than a year, but maybe he could be your Randall Cobb, your deep threat underneath guy. Take a 10-yard slant to the crib. Why not? Look, y'all like F Deshaun. I know. I feel y'all. He's a Cowboy killer. But we're trying to find guys that can fit under that Catboy criteria. And I think D-Jack, besides the age, going to get him cheap. He's got some talent, and he plays a role. Yeah, he's not. Listen, I wouldn't bring Deshaun in here to be my wide receiver 3. He'd be more so like my 4. He's going to give me about 15, 20 snaps, tops. You just run fast, Deshaun. Run fast. We saw what he did here. Let's go down this list of some other guys while we got you. Now, like I said, at the top of that list, you're talking about guys like Allen, Chris Godwin, Devontae. These guys are just not going to be on the Cowboys' radar. Jamison Crowder played his way into a bigger-ish contract. If you don't like Deshaun because of injuries, I don't think you'll like Will Fuller. Saw my guy Spence had brought him up on Twitter. Listen, I loved Will Fuller on Madden, but Will Fuller in real life can't stay healthy to save his life. So, and he may cost you more than 6. He's been costing more than 6. So I would stay away from Will Fuller. But if you're going to bring in Deshaun Jackson for cheap, if I can get him for cheap, I mean, it's interesting. But I think he's going to cost you more than you like. We talked about T.Y., another guy that can't stay healthy. He's on the bad side of 30. Not too fond of a T.Y. Hilton. You like Pringle from Kansas City. I keep seeing his name being brought up. Fast dude. They can bring a lot of fast guys in there. He'll be cheap. He'll be cheap too. You know a guy I actually like? I mean, he's not going to be a receiver type dude. Jakeem Grant. I've always liked Jakeem Grant. He's not going to be a guy that you give the ball to a lot, but he could be your jet sweep, Lucky Whitehead type. We missed that type, in my opinion. But I tell you what, let me throw this hypothetical out there for you since we brought it up earlier about Amari Cooper. If they do decide to move on from Amari Cooper, would you, and someone said this the other day, would you look into a guy like Odell Beckham? Let y'all ponder on that. Yeah, Grant played in Chicago last year and Miami prior years. I would. Odell gonna cost you a little bit of money, but Odell can give you that threat that Cooper gave you, right? That route you up threat. Got to dictate the defense a little bit towards him if he's the guy. He still got juice. That was when we talked about this at the trade deadline or when he got cut. It had nothing to do with his talent. It had everything to do with could he potentially be a head case. I think, once again, you're seeing a player that, yeah, he's a bit of a diva. It is what it is. But you get him in the right organization around the right group of people in that locker room. And who the hell was talking about Odell Beckham being a head case? Nobody. But when you go to poverty franchises like the Giants and like the Cleveland Browns. But, I'm just saying, Odell, I'd like him to replace Amari if you're going to get rid of an Amari Cooper. I know it's not a popular thing to say, but I think he could help. He can help Dallas. He's quick. He routes you up. I mean, he's Odell. I mean, let's just say it is what it is. Then here's a problem you may run into, CJ. He said Odell will leave because Kellen wants everybody to get the ball. That could be. It wasn't like Odell was getting a crap ton of targets when he came over to the Rams, but he was getting targeted more than Cleveland, and that's all that mattered. And then once he got into the playoffs, he just started going nuclear and was setting career highs with the Rams. So here we are with Odell. I'm actually happy for Odell Beckham, man. I am. It took him a while, I think, to mature. I thought when you really go look at his career in Cleveland, I don't think he was a head case himself. His dad's the one that came out and started some stuff, but maybe he needed to because now look where he's at. Now, you want to talk about Odell in New York, that's a different story. That's a different story. Some believe Odell's not a number one. You get Odell Beckham and you pair him with a CeeDee Lamb, I don't give a damn who you call number one. Those are two really talented wide receivers that got some juice and can help you out. Now figure it out. Get them to rock. I think he grew up too, CJ. Well, that's a whole different story time. Whole different story. Michael said, if you bring in Odell Beckham, why are they cutting Coop again? I'm guessing you're saying, why would they cut Coop? Well, they'll cut Coop because they can save, I think it was like $19 million on the cap or something like that. They designated him a June 1st cut. And if you sign like an Odell Beckham, that first year cap hit won't be close to $19 million. So you technically can sign one of these bigger name wide receivers. I'm not talking about like a Devontae Adams. There's no point in getting rid of Cooper if you're going to bring a Devontae Adams. You want to see what his market value is? Let's see real quick. I don't even need to see it to know exactly. Devontae Adams' market value is $25 million per year. So I'm not talking about a guy like that. I don't think Odell will be approaching $25 million a year. But I think we can all agree, if you do cut an Amari Cooper, you're putting yourself in a position to where you need to address the receiver position, like really address it. Not, hey, we're going to bring back Ced and we're going to bring back Michael Gallup. Gallup's not going to be available until maybe sometime in September. Cedrick Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, a rookie semi, what are we doing? Like, I'm not saying this is this awful room, but you've significantly decreased your wide receiver room if you roll that. And Odell, if you want to see his market value per spot rack, right now, I think it was like 13. So it was $13 million per spot rack as his market value and average annual salary. Which means if you sign Odell Beckham to like a 3-year deal or something like that, that first year cap hit's not going to be the whole $13 million. It'll be probably lower. So, I'd do it. I definitely would do that. Brandon Cooks, a good name. That's a trade name, I think, though, right? Isn't Brandon Cooks signed under contract and he continues to just get traded? I never seen a guy produce so well year after year and just continue to get traded. Not a head case, but he continues to get traded. So yeah, y'all, those are some of the names. Those are some of the players that, and we pretty much read off almost the damn entire list of the free agent wide receivers. Somebody brought up Byron Pringle. I went and looked. $3 million average salary. So you're talking about a guy who's going to come here for super cheap too. DeMarcus Robinson, another Kansas City guy. Kansas City always just have these young dudes come in there, play their role, and they continue to swap it out. But I think it's because they have a system. They have an identity. And they don't stray from that. So I'm just saying, Dallas is most likely going to hit this free agent market, Cowboys Nation. I don't think it'll be a big name if Cooper's still here. So we got to look at these Catboy guys. It won't wow you. If one of these guys are signed, you won't get all excited. But it'll be necessary because that's just kind of what they do. And you're going to need to replace Cedrick Wilson somehow, some way. TC915 says, I get rid of Coop and restructure everyone I had to sign Devontae Adams. Nah, man. I love Devontae Adams, but why get rid of Coop? I'm not saying, Devontae's nice. But Devontae Adams is a route guy, right? He's an amazing guy. Coop, if put Cooper with A-Rod, I feel like Cooper would be Devontae Adams. I'm just saying. Put him over there with the floor, he'd be the same dude. I'm not swapping out Amari Cooper, getting Devontae Adams and paying more money. His contract was like 5 years, $129 million. I'm good, brother. I'm good. Jacob said, A to Z or Sky, if Saints cut Mike Thomas, do you make a run for him? Nah. Mike, you want to talk about getting paid. Mike gonna get paid too, ain't he? Ain't Mike gonna get paid? If he already didn't get paid? So nah, I probably wouldn't make a run at Mike. Again, maybe if Coop is cut, I suppose you could bring in Mike Thomas. But that's gonna be a lot of money too. Like, I want to replace Coop if he gets cut, but I don't want to replace him to the point where I'm paying the same amount as I paid Coop. Robert says he'd rather cut Tank as opposed to Amari Cooper. I think we had this conversation the other day. Somebody proposed to me. Cooper, Tank, who would you rather get rid of? I said, I want to keep them both. But I think we saw that, the defense did get by without Tank, and you have an option to bring down Micah Parsons to the defensive end position. I don't have an in-house solution for Amari Cooper, so I think I would want to keep Amari Cooper. Appreciate the Tom Downey for the donation.
Super chat.
What's the point of driving a Lambo if you're only going to drive it in first gear? How does a scheme that can't get Coop the ball improve with worse wide receiver play? That's exactly why I would not get rid of him. We had this conversation before in regards to talent, right? We talked about if coaching is not going to improve, if the scheme is not going to change, then I'm not getting rid of the talent. Because the talent is what's going to help me overcome my deficiencies schematically, my deficiencies coaching-wise. I don't understand it. And don't scream cap. Don't scream cap at me, Cowboys Nation. What you going to do with the cap? Pay Brian Anger? Malik Turner? Ced Wilson? Why get rid of Amari Cooper to bring back those guys? That's silly to me. You can get those guys without cutting Amari Cooper. So, nah, brother. I'm still on that train. Don't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. Swaggy D talking about the Lakers. Yeah, man. They a whole bunch of old people. Nicholas Pulowski. I'd rather lose D-Law than Coop, he says. Okay. Did you see the KC game without Coop? We looked terrible. Yeah. We're on agreement here. If I had to pick between the two, and I love DeMarcus Lawrence. A lot of people don't like him. I think he's a phenomenal player. It's just that I think we have an in-house solution. You can move Micah Parsons to defensive end, and he can wreck your game at defensive end too. So we don't have that in-house solution with Amari Cooper. In fact, if you're going to replace Amari Cooper, you're going to have to do it in free agency. Or you create a hole, and now you're drafting a receiver in round 1 or 2. I'm not trying to do that. Now, it's unnecessary. Straight up. Knock straight up. You need Amari Cooper. We're going to talk about this until this thing passes. Tom said he'd pick D-Law. It's a tough one. I don't like y'all putting me up against these dudes, because I want them both. And there's no reason why you can't have. In fact, I'm going to keep it a bean. I would not restructure. Yeah, restructure Amari Cooper. I wouldn't cut him. Restructure this man. He's 28, 27, 28 years old. Why we acting like Amari Cooper 35 and a bum? The furthest thing from it. You want to create more money, restructure the damn contract. See, Dallas thought they was slick. You know what? We're going to pay Amari Cooper all this money up front, and in 2 years, we'll think about getting out of it. Cool. Now look at you. You didn't extend Michael Gallup. You don't have a replacement for Coop. You almost can't do that. You almost can't do it, man. Jacob says, yeah, well, Sky, if you do that, now you have a hole at LB. You do, but you can fill that hole, in my opinion, better in the draft and free agency. We talked about some of those linebackers I like, and in the draft I like, than you could, I think, at wide receiver right now. Unless you're going to, when I'm talking about the draft, unless you're going to draft a guy, jump up early and get a guy to replace Coop. Unless you're going to pay $25 million for Devontae Adams or $20 million for a Chris Godwin. Right? Mike Singletary voice. Can't do it, won't do it. That's what I do all the time. I love Mike Singletary voice. Listen, I want to keep them both, Jacob. I don't want to get rid of any of them. But if I had to, I've seen the defense be able to succeed at a higher level than I did without Amari Cooper, because you got an in-house replacement. Y'all be putting me up against these guys. I don't like it. I don't like it. Captain America says restructure both Coop and D-Law. That's the funny thing, right? Like with D-Law, y'all, you got to do something. I'm not saying cut him, but you almost got to do something. And Captain America, it might be time to restructure him if you're going for the gusto. Only if you're going for the gusto. The problem with his restructure is he's a little older, foot injury twice, a little scary for me. And you saw the defense succeed without him. But if I want to win, right, if I want to accumulate all the talent, then screw it. Restructure it, continue to add on to it, and go try to win this damn Super Bowl. Don't give me cap where, you know, we got the cap, we got the pie, and all this other stuff. We're going to continue to replenish and build through the job. That's cool. That's cool. Do you want to win, Steven? Tell me how you win the Super Bowl, or you continue to show free agents or your own players that you want to win by cutting two of your best players on the team. Because make no mistake about it, Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence are two of your 6 or 7 best players on this entire football team right now. I just sell that to me. You can sell it to me right now, Cowboys Nation, if you want to try. How do we become a better team without Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence? I don't see it. That's all. I don't see it. The game, Chris Jones, Sundar O-line. Okay, you guys are talking within there. TC said, just get Coop the damn ball. He's still worth it. He is. He absolutely is. All right, Cowboys Nation. This conversation has been great. We kind of move forward back towards Amari Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence thing. And I'm telling you right now, the clock's ticking. Somebody want to give me the date on when the new league year starts? It's usually around like March 13th-ish, something like that. And then I think it's the same time where teams can start to negotiate with with their players, not other players, with their players. And then you have that window where you can call it legal tampering, which is goofy to me because they're free agents, but the legal tampering window where you can now start talking to other free agents. I think first thing first, Dallas is going to look at this 2018 draft class. Even before the Randys and the curses, I think they're going to look at this 2018 draft class and figure out, do we want to bring any of these guys back? And that's why I want to go through each of these guys individually, have this conversation with y'all, and then if not, the potential Catboy guys that they can bring in to replace them, because that's what Dallas does. They go, all right, we're not going to bring so-and-so back. We're going to replace them with a Catboy. And Ced Wilson's a big one. Ced Wilson's a real big one. The next one we're going to do, I'll tease it. I don't want to talk about it right now, but next week, probably on Wednesday or so, maybe Thursday, will be Dalton. We definitely got to talk about that one. Another situation where Dallas is in a real funny proposition with their tight end room. Yeah, you're true about that one, Brando. We already did. We restructured a lot of these guys' contracts already, but that's why his cap hit is so high. You're right. Got to do something about it. But do you want to win? Do you want to try to win? Or do you want to try to manage your cap and continue to just stick around enough to get the 20th overall pick and be one and done in the playoffs? And I want to win, man. I want to win. Stevie Mack, did you get that? Okay, waiver system starts Monday. Can you explain what that means? Waiver system. I mean, like guys getting cut and going on a waiver. I'm talking about the league year. When does the league year start? It's usually around like March 13th. Let me find that out real quick. Let's see. March 16th. All right, here we go. March 16th, the new league year begins, and free agency period will begin at 4 p.m. on that day. So we're looking at March 16th. You're talking about a month and some change. And I think a few days before that, you have the fake tampering period. So March 16th, that's where we're at, man. They got a month and 6 days to figure this out. Less than that, really. They got about 3 weeks to figure it out when it comes to the 2018 draft class and their free agents. So next week, we'll talk about Dalton Schultz, potential replacements. And honestly, I like that free agency group way better than a lot of these other free agency groups. So when we look at Catboy free agents for tight ends, those guys can actually come in here and produce. So I'm excited to talk about that, y'all. I'm excited to talk about that. We'll get to Connor and them boys in a second too, Nick. We'll get to those guys. But all right, man, I got to get up out of here. We got meetings. I got to go all over the damn place today. I appreciate you guys joining me. Make sure y'all check out my guy, Mauricio Rodriguez, later tonight on A to Z Sports Dallas. I'm Skywalker Still. This is A to Z Sports Dallas Live. Hit that like button on your way out, man. Hit the like button on the way out. Check me out. Follow me on Twitter. Okay? Follow me on Twitter for all the Super Bowl takes. Got to get up out of here, y'all. Appreciate you. Be out of here. Peace. Love you. Shout out to CD Mac, Stevie Mac, the Mod God.
I won't